All right, I'm gonna start doing the timing job on my 04 F-150 5.4. All right, we'll see how she goes. Okay, so I got a little stuck on the power steering bracket. One huge bolt on the bottom side. It's a big one. Found out after backing it all the way out that I could have just slipped it off. Both of these have an open design. I could have just pulled it straight off. So, lesson learned. But I got hung up on that. Now I'm trying to get the bottom of this harness is attached to the oil pressure sensor down there, and it's been trouble trying to get to it. So I'm going to disconnect it after I drain the oil and pull the oil filter, because I can't get my hand in there to get to it. So after that, should be good to start pulling the coils, and this side should be fairly open. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to move this or not. Hope not. And over here, I did drain the AC system today. I took it to the local shop. They charged me $65 to drain it, and then after I'm done, take it back and fill it back up. So that'll be good. But most of this stuff should come out okay. I've taken the PCM off before and messed with some of this stuff, so I'll drain the coolant and then remove some hoses and move on. So we'll see you then. All right, yeah, these on the bottom were a pain to get to. Very big pain, but I had to take the oil filter off. I was able to squeeze my hand in there and make it work. But I got it, got the right side done, the driver's side. That's what it should look like. I ended up just being able to set this out of the way. I was kind of worried I was gonna have to do something more with that. But so far so good. I am moving on to the passenger side. Okay, sorry I didn't record much earlier. The rest of the process of taking off everything over here. That harness that goes down connects into the oil pan. I believe it's oil pressure sensor, or I don't know, something that goes all the way down to the oil pan. Also one that connects right there on the AC compressor, and then the crankshaft sensor. Got all that finally out of the way, and managed to take all the pulleys off without a problem. Didn't have anything sticking. I'm getting ready to do the crankshaft pulley down there. So we'll see how that goes. Bye. One thing to note, I decided to go ahead and take off the tires. One, because they push the truck up fairly high, and it's hard to work in the engine compartment. But two is because I noticed it's very easy to see the valve cover bolts right here, and I'm getting ready to take off this wheel well cover, and I'm hoping that will give me fairly good access to that. So, little tip. Okay, just finished unbolting all the bolts on the valve cover on the driver's side. Had to take off the wheel well, and that back one was a bugger. Not fun. Had to put together a couple extensions here. This seemed to work okay going in from underneath the wheel well. Broke the torque and then was able to back it out with my hand. So we're gonna take this cover off. So I'm actually gonna film this. So. Pry it off a little bit. Bolts. Oops, still got a bolt. Okay, take two. I hadn't backed down a bolt all the way on the bottom. There she goes. Not perfect. Do some inspecting here. This is the side that was mainly making all the noise. Not too bad. Truck has 100 or 220,000 miles on it. Looks like one of the journal back there, or the lobe, camshaft lobe, has a little bit of gunk on it, maybe a nick. Phaser's definitely gunked up. All right, I'm gonna look around a bit more. Okay, I got all of the bolts out of the passenger side. I'm getting ready to try to get it off there, but I have a feeling I'm gonna have an issue back here with clearance. So I'm not gonna film it, but I will let you know how it goes. The back bolt was kind of a pain, but surprisingly I was able to get just a 1/4 inch ratchet and a small or an extension, this back there. That worked fine. One note, I did have to pull off, let me get a light. Did have to pull that big honking bolt right there, the dipstick for the transmission. I did have to pull that completely out of there just to get clearance to that bolt. It was really in the way. I couldn't get my wrench in there, so just a note. All right, I'll let you know how it goes. All right, got them both off. That wasn't as bad of a chore as I thought. When I had it in there with both hands, I came out like this, pulling and turning this way. And then after I got so far past the VCT solenoid, I turned it and it came right up. Now I did have to undo this nut on the, I can't remember what that's called, for the air conditioner. And then there was also one right there holding that bottom part on. I just took them off so I could wiggle it around. Still pretty careful back there, but it came off, thank goodness. Let's see, it's about 10:30 or so. I've been at it for 6 or 7 hours. Is that right? Yeah, about 6 hours. I had to go get some bolts for the gear puller down there, the one that I had available. The bolts are too small, but got some long ones and was able to get it off. So I'm gonna clean up that and get that gasket off and then start pulling the front cover. And that's gonna be it for the night, so see you in a bit. Okay, the power steering pup was terrible. I'm not sure why, but my bolt, instead of the back, you know, the front one here, and what people call the back one, back top here, instead of it being in the back, it was in the front. And the problem with that is the power steering, the line that goes out of the pump is the connectors right there. So I have no play at all, hardly, with this screw. So I'm going to decide if I want to take the line off and move the screw to the back, or try to put it back on like that. It took me a solid hour to back that out. Little tiny sways. I was able to go through the front of the pulley and grab onto it with a small 10 millimeter open-ended wrench. Sucked. But onto the front cover. Getting ready to take the bolts out. Should be good. Okay, got the front cover off. Some bad news in here. The guide is completely gone on this side, underneath there. A couple chunks fell out whenever I popped the front cover. But this tensioner looks good. The chain is still tight, but the guide is completely gone. On this side, the chain is actually pretty loose. So on this side, the tensioner is blown. And I noticed this doesn't look good. I don't know if that's completely blown up or what, but it just doesn't seem seem right. Maybe I'm wrong. It seemed a little bent too. So I'm suspecting that the rest of the guide is down in the oil pan, and it looks kind of gunky and yellow down there too, so I'm probably gonna drop the pan, clean that out real good. Not terrible news, but you know, that's why we're doing it. Okay, I'm gonna go home, go to bed. It's about 2:30 in the morning. So we got the oil pump to come out next. The two 8mm bolts on the bottom there just seemed pretty difficult to get, and honestly, with my guide being all broke up, I'm gonna just drop the pan and clean out the pan and make sure the pickup tube is clean for the new oil pump. So I'm gonna call it a night, and I'll see you in the morning. All right, got back at it this morning. Got all the timing stuff off last night, and decided I was gonna go ahead and pull the pan. One, because it's easier to get the new oil pump on with the bottom bolts, but two, since one of my guides was broken, decided to go ahead and see if there was anything blocking the pickup tube, and just for my own general peace of mind. And sure enough, pulled it off, which, by the way, this axle, you have to pull that at the very least. That bolt over there. Let's see if I can get it to you guys. That bolt I pulled completely out. This bolt right there I pulled completely out, and I actually had to get a little bit pry on it to get it to come down far enough. And once that happened, the pan came out without a fight. I'm glad that I did. So look, it's got some of the guide chunks in it, and the pan itself looks okay, but I'm sure there's some guide remnants in the bottom that I'm going to clean out. So it's definitely a good idea to do it if you have pieces of a guide missing. All right, I am almost ready to work on the timing stuff. I pulled the camshafts, and I did just pull the tower bolts and then lift the camshaft off, and then the rest of the roller followers. I was always unsure if I could do that in all the videos that I was watching, so I did it, and it worked fine. I've got all of the stuff sitting over here in order, and all of them look good. I'm gonna clean them up, and they'll get reinstalled. But the bigger problem that I had, well, I wouldn't say problem, the oil pump, the bolts that go in the bottom of that thing for the pickup tube, those would be probably really hard to do without dropping the pan, not gonna lie. I was very surprised that he was able to do that, Brian was able to do that on those YouTube videos. But I'm sure a little patience may go a little further than what I have. So, next step. All right, sorry it's been a while since I updated you. Got the timing chain all set up, the new setup. New phasers. I pulled the camshafts, pulled all the roller followers, and now got it all back together. Torqued down correctly. The roller followers are still out. I haven't put them back in yet. New phaser, tensioners. On to the next thing. All right, got a lot more put back together. All the pulleys and the belt And then I also did one side before I'm going to stop for the night. All the roller followers. I was surprised at how easy they actually went in once I just slowed down and used just a little bit of patience with the tool. So just a tip, I usually inserted the roller follower on the valve stem side and then slid it over on top of the lash adjuster, and it almost worked flawlessly every time. So tomorrow, got one more side and be really close. All right, so had some bad news. I put it all back together, turned it back on, and still clicking away on the right side. So now I'm just taking the valve covers off, and sure enough, I thought I checked these good. They were stuck down in the valve train, obviously, and I just pushed on them, and I think they were down. So be sure and check these, replace them if you're this deep. I regret every bit of not replacing them, but yeah, every one of them. I think there was 2 that didn't have this much play in them, but let me show you. Every stinking one of them. But lesson learned. This should be it though. Everything else looked good, worked good, sounded okay. No leaks besides the ticking. So I did do the chain this time, the wedge chain, so I didn't have to take off the front cover.